Good evening and welcome to my second show today. And we had around about 5 yesterday, and we didn't finish until around about 12 last night. So if I feel a bit dog-eyed tonight, then I'm sorry. Anyway, my next guest tonight is I've got him down here as Mason the Healer. Why do they call you Mason the Healer?
Well, I'm actually a qualified Reiki master or practitioner, however you want to call it. So, yeah, it's just a title, but there is a background to that, as I have been a Reiki healer now for about 5 years.
Right. Okay. What made you go into healing? Sometimes why I mention that is because I'm a Christian, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, in healing anyway, because my faith. Is it because of your faith, or is it because it's what you believe in?
I think it was out of necessity more than anything else. So I went through a pretty rough time with some past partners and going through X Factor and going through the whole world of fame, and it came to a point where I was at a really low place, and it was a kind of last-ditch attempt to try and find some sort of solace, and instead of kind of going to therapy or anything or taking any kind of medication, I wanted to look through the kind of holistic route of doing things. And I came across Reiki, and I didn't really know what it was. I had a faint idea. And I've always kind of been interested in Japanese culture anyway. So I came across this discipline, this practice whereby you can first of all heal yourself. You learn within Reiki to channel certain universal forces, which we all have the ability to do. We are all have the ability to tap into these energies in order to heal our own bodies. We all have the capacity to heal ourselves. And it was an exploration to go on a healing journey for myself, and then that led on to me doing that with other people.
Because let me get back to about the fame part, because when you went on X Factor,
yeah,
and you did quite well on X Factor, actually, didn't you?
Yeah, well, or notorious, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and do you think at that time when you're on X Factor, you went down, you kind of like, after going on X Factor, do you think you went down on a spiral where all this fame got to you and everything?
I wouldn't necessarily say the fame got to me. It was extremely intense experience. Afterwards, I had some things happen to me where I lost my partner in a tragic accident, and
sorry about that.
I wasn't ready for that. Yes, thank you. And that kind of sent me into this spiral, more so because the fame didn't mean anything anymore, and the money didn't mean anything anymore, and I couldn't figure out what my place was in the world. If someone could just disappear off the planet like that, and I think that made everything meaningless to me. So it sent me on a deeper search for meaning, where I did look into the religions, and I looked into all sorts of different things in order to find out what this whole thing is about, really, because all of that material stuff just meant nothing anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I know it's hard when we go through bad times, especially when you kind of like, your partner, all of a sudden you lose your partner. That must have been really, really, really bad for you, you know. Um,
Yeah, and I was very young as well, and it's one of those things that you never think is going to happen to you, and you see it on the news or you see it happen to people, and it always feels quite far removed, that sort of tragedy,
yeah,
but you realize that really it's not, and really a lot of people experience this throughout their lives. It's kind
mm,
of a natural thing for humans to go through. It's one of those.
yeah, yeah, yeah. On our kind of like podcasts and radio, we got both, and we kind of like concentrate on mental health and all sorts, and we got counsellors, who work with us by the side of us. So if we get a guest or somebody that's upset, or if we get people who's listening gets upset, we got counsellors on the side saying, look, speak to a counsellor. So that's handy. Can I just talk about? Do you mind if I talk about X Factor
Go ahead.
for a
Yeah, sure.
minute? When when what made you in the first place go on to X Factor? Was it the fame?
Um, Originally, I didn't want to go on the show, and I was asked to go on the first time, and we didn't answer the call. And the second time, I met someone through a kind of synchronistic meeting who said, "I think you'd be really good on the show." And second time round, I thought, well, maybe there's something in it. Uh, so let's just see what happens. And it wasn't necessarily for fame or in that sense, but maybe exposure.
Mm,
Um, but I didn't really know what was going to happen.
mm, mm. Because when you get to that certain point, when you're on a big program like the X Factor and you're doing quite well on it, you're bound to get the exposure. How much exposure did you get?
A lot, and I think it was because we did certain things on the show that hadn't been done before, that it made quite a name for itself, and I was the most kind of talked about X Factor contestant nearly, I think, ever. And I was the most talked about celebrity that year, I think, or person that year.
Yeah, you were.
It,
Yeah, yeah, mm,
it was like in the Google top list or something,
yeah,
most searched name or something. So yeah, it was quite
yeah.
extraordinary experience.
Every time you went onto Google, your name was right up the top.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it was.
it was very surreal, very
Yeah, it
surreal.
was. It was. And you
Especially
was very popular, and I bet did any agent come in and say, look, we want to sign you up and everything?
I had interest, but I think a lot of people were scared to work with me. I think that the show painted me as quite an arrogant person, and I guess a part of me definitely was, and but I fit that archetypal bad boy that they wanted to peddle, so they went along with that, and I think people were quite scared to work with me because they didn't know what I would be like in person. They didn't know
Mm,
whether I'd kick off all the time or.
mm.
But really it was more of a publicity stunt on our part to be that way.
Because you did kick off, or didn't you?
Yeah, and
What
abusing.
was that? What was that about? What was that honestly about? Can you tell me?
So um, it was the 6 chair challenge, and we said that we'd go and continue on with the show if the 6 chairs weren't full, and there was 5 chairs, and someone took the last chair. So I was really against taking someone's chair off of them.
Chair,
I just
yeah,
it
yeah,
just wasn't. It didn't feel right for me, and in that kind of Colosseum atmosphere, it was very brutal, and it just wasn't something I wanted to do to embarrass someone like that, or take their, feel like I was taking their chance off them, their opportunity off them. So we said, well, how can we get the most publicity out of this without having to continue further on in the show? So we literally made the decision to do it backstage just before I went on because someone took the last chair. So we said, right, well, we'll just kick off now, try and get things, get some publicity out of it, and take what we can, and leave and quit while we're ahead.
and that's what you did, really, wasn't it? You kind of like you left.
Yeah, and well, luckily we got invited back anyway. So
Yeah, you did. Yeah, yeah. Um, what was the kind of like? What was the judges really like? What were they like? Did you actually talk to them or meet them or?
yeah, I think I was very lucky that year because I had Nick Grimshaw, and he's a music mogul, and he knows everybody, and we had a special connection, and he allowed us to meet a lot of people, and I met a lot of people through that, and I think through doing what I did gave me a lot of credibility as well with the industry, which is hard to get with X Factor. It's kind of
Yeah,
a
yeah,
bit
yeah.
sweet thing in that sense that you go on the show and it's almost that people don't want to work with you because you've been on the show, even though you might get so far or whatnot. But I kind of got my credibility from doing what I did, so I got to meet a lot of people, and Rita Ora was on that year, and she was lovely, and Cheryl was beautiful,
Hmm.
and Simon wasn't too bad either actually, and we had uh, some good conversations. So yeah, no, it was looking back. Although it was you're in the bubble and it's so much drama and you can't get a hold of yourself in the moment. But
Hmm.
looking back, it was a great experience, although
Hmm.
very stressful and tiring and
Hmm.
the rest of it.
And what did you do when you left X Factor? What was your next step? Because uh,
I had a
uh,
very big whiskey in the hotel lobby.
yeah, I know that, but no, I don't know that what you did in the hotel lobby. I know what Fame's about. I've been in the papers and media myself. But what actually happened? Because because you left, and at one certain point, I was it at one certain point you wanted to give music up. Is that right?
Um, when we left, there was a kind of a lull period, and we got a call from the producers about 2 weeks later, I think it was. Uh, and Simon called me from LA and said, "Look, there's no bad blood. It's we all know what it is. It's great for TV, and we think you're really talented, and we'd love you to come back on the show. You can come on as a wild card." And we happily accepted. I think after the show, um, and when I was going through my own personal stuff, I left music for quite a while.
Yeah, you
I'm
did.
only
Yeah, yeah.
I'm only recently now starting to make some stuff again to release this year. I'm also releasing an album that I made when I was Mason Noise, but I never released it.
Mm,
So we're going to put that out there because it's fun, and I think it would be cool for people to hear that against what I'm doing now.
yeah.
But yeah, it took a while to jump back on the horse because it's a very manufactured industry, and I think I was just going through the motions, and I didn't really know who I was as an artist. Um, I was kind of just playing out what I thought what I should be essentially.
Mm.
But it wasn't coming from my soul. It was coming from an egoic layer.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was
Do you
always,
think do you think when you went on X Factor, do you think as Mason Noise, because that's what your name was on X Factor, do you think it was kind of like, oh, I'm on the X Factor, so I want to be it type thing? Do you get
I
what I'm
mean,
trying to say?
yeah, I
And it rushed
guess.
to it rushed to your head, all the fame and everything.
I mean, I'd probably say I was like that anyway. Because I'd done a lot of shows before X Factor, and I'd done some music videos, and I'd kind of done the rounds in sense of I'd done a few club tours in the UK, so I was well seasoned in that sense. That's why I think I was so confident when I came on stage, because I'd kind of broke my teeth on two kind of UK circuit tours already, to the
Mm.
point, and I mean, when I first did it, I had people, it was kind of like drunk people in the club. They throw things at you, and you're kind of, you're singing, and you're trying to get their attention, and all of that kind of good stuff. So it felt nice to just have a crowd that wanted to listen to you.
Mm.
So I kind of grabbed that by the horns. But I would say no. I was pretty confident anyway, and I honestly didn't expect to get too far. I didn't think I'd get too far. I just thought it would be a good opportunity and some good experience. And it
Mm.
went so smoothly that it even to this day, it really surprised me how far it went, and how little effort it almost took. It took a
Mm.
lot of work. It took a lot of work, and it was very tiring, and it was very strenuous. And but the way it flowed, was seamless, like it was meant to happen.
Mm. Could you pick your own shows? Sorry, pick your own shows. Pick your own songs on the show. Stop laughing. Stop laughing.
Both things, no. No, some songs I did pick myself, and others I didn't, and some clothes I picked myself, and
Yeah,
some I
yeah,
did. I tried to have as much input as possible,
yeah, yeah,
um, but there were some things that no, they put together for you and say this is going to be
yeah,
good for
yeah,
you, this is going to get you the votes that you need, and whatnot.
yeah. Did you get so when you left the X Factor? Did you think you will kind of continue? Did you think when you were on the X Factor? Do you think you were gonna win?
No, I didn't want to win, and we explicitly said that um, we didn't want to win. I kind of from past experience on the show, I don't know. It always felt like people who didn't win did better than people who did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it
yeah,
was enough. It was enough. We didn't have to win. We already achieved so much leading up to the live shows, in the live shows, that it was good. What it was good where it finished. It felt like it finished when it was supposed to finish.
yeah.
I was expecting of it. Yeah.
Because when a lot of people's been on the X Factor, they've even won it, and they've taken the money, they've taken all the fame, but next minute they get dropped. I could name you a few people. What do you think about that? Because at the end of the day, okay, it's a show. Yes, I can get that, but the trouble is, though, I'm, it's kind of like, let's forget about the ratings. You're playing with somebody's life, aren't you? Really?
I think that's the dilemma with all of these reality shows. Not just the X Factor, but just those type of things in general. They kind of rocket you into this fame, and I don't think people really understand what the implications of it are,
Mm,
and what that means for the rest of your life. What it means for your what it does to your social life, what it does to your everything. Really, it completely changes your reality. And
yeah,
then you go back to a normal reality, and I think that's what's more hard for people to cope with, because
yeah, yeah,
they get so wrapped up that they think, well, this is it for life now.
yeah. Yeah.
It's very easy to think like that, but it's not, and it's very transient, and
Yeah.
it comes and goes, and you have to constantly keep evolving with that.
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing to do. It's the hard thing is to constantly reinvent yourself so that you're credible, and to have experience about writing songs and producing songs and knowing what the studio's like, and knowing the processes of getting these things out there, and having a persona on stage, and there's so much to being an artist that
Yeah.
it's, it has to
Yeah.
come from a place.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. With the what was it like? Last couple of questions about the X Factor, and I promise. What was it like to live in the house with everybody else?
It was really fun. It was a really beautiful mansion in a really rich part of London. I can't remember where it was now, but it had a pool and it had all of those kind of facilities, and it was a bit Big Brothery. It was a bit prison like, because you couldn't really go out much because there'd always be photographers and whatnot outside the gates, and you'd get mobbed wherever you went. And but I think the whole thing was it was very tiring. It was very tiring. Like you'd get up.
Mm.
I think a lot of people, I don't think, understand how much they push you, and how draining it is. You get
Yeah.
up on a
See,
Monday.
people. See, only people. Sorry. Why I'm trying to trying to ask you these questions is because a lot of people do watch the X Factor, but they don't know what goes on behind the scenes. See that, and that's what I'm trying to get out of you, because behind the scenes, it's got to be, you're probably getting up early. It's stressful because you've got the cameras on you all the time. You know, was it like that? Really stressful, was it?
Yeah, I don't think you realize at the time, because like I said, you're just going through the motions. But you get up on a Monday and you do your song and you're practicing, and then Tuesdays you're either doing choreography and practicing, and Wednesdays you're doing your set design and practicing, and Thursdays you're doing vocal coaching, whatever. Fridays you're doing a full rehearsal in the studio. Saturday, the day of the actual live itself, you're up at like 6 in the morning sometimes, and then you go to the studio for like 7 in the morning. You have your breakfast, you get makeup, and then you're there all day until you go on stage at maybe 8, 9 o'clock. So
Yeah.
you've already been up since 6 a.m. and you go on stage at 8 o'clock at night, and
Gosh.
you're absolutely exhausted, and you're just running on fumes at that point. And then Sunday you wake up the same time again to come back for the results show. So then you're practicing the results show on the Sunday, and then you may have to sing your song to save yourself on the night. So again, you're absolutely exhausted from the week, and then it starts again on Monday.
Mm. How many times did you have parties in the house?
None
You
at
must have
all.
had a few parties in that house, didn't you?
None at all. We weren't really allowed much alcohol. Um, so it was more just people just sitting in bed and talking, and watching films. It wasn't the rock star life that I think people hoped it would be.
All right. I thought everybody will be kind of like getting drunk and everything, and
No, and I think no, and it was quite the opposite. It was quite the opposite. It was quite a professional setting, if anything else.
mm, yeah, brilliant. What are you doing? What are you doing right now then? So what are you? What's your plans now for the future?
So I'm doing my Reiki healing also. Um, Doing some meditation music. I am working on some new, more kind of pop style music, more world kind of stuff, and getting back into the music scene, but also creating, merging it with the healing side of things.
Mm,
So
mm. See,
I
that's your
think,
thing now, isn't it? That's your that is what you like doing now, isn't it? You like doing the healing part. You like to get involved in that. You like all the Reiki stuff and everything, don't you?
Well, really, my work is just my work on myself, and it's just sharing what I do on myself, really, so that if other people resonate with that and it helps them, then amazing. But I think my whole journey has since after that has just been healing myself and finding myself, finding my true self even,
Mm.
and I think
Have you found your true self?
I found the self, which ironically is everything. It's I wouldn't say I found myself, but I found the self, which is in everything,
Yeah.
which is in everyone.
Yeah. And what's life? What's after all the tension, after all that? What's life like now for you?
Fairly peaceful, because I think I'm fairly peaceful now.
Yeah.
So therefore, my environment is peaceful, and the things I experience now are peaceful, because
Yeah.
it's really just about your own internal state
Yeah.
and your own
Yeah.
ability to control your internal state.
Yeah. Really good. Really good. Did you ever do any other TV before the X Factor?
No, like I just I did a few music videos that someone and I produced and directed together, and we produced the music and wrote together, and we had experience on that side. But I've never really been on TV. I've done some radio stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing that would have prepared me for that anyway.
Yeah. 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 And the last question, last couple of questions, and I'll leave you alone, I promise. What's the most embarrassing moment that you have ever had?
God, there's so many. It's hard to choose. It feels like my whole life has been quite embarrassing.
Was it the X
But
Factor?
I think so, maybe because it was so public.
Yeah.
You know, I tell a story that when I left the show, I was on pretty much every front page news tabloid, and
I know. Yeah.
I went to Spain to kind of try and escape it all. And I got on the plane, and everyone had the sun, and I was on the cover, and I was sitting on the plane going, "Oh
Sorry, I
no,
mustn't laugh. Sorry.
no, you should." And I looked. There's a woman sitting next to me reading the article on me as I'm sitting on the plane going like this, and no one had noticed at this point. Someone kind of looked back and noticed, and then the whole plane kind of lit up. And then I got to the hotel, which was a quintessentially British, Spanish hotel,
Oh no.
kind of like a scene from Benidorm. And they sell the Sun in the news stand that they have at the hotel. And again, everyone around the pool was reading the same paper. And I travelled all this way to kind of escape it. And yeah, I really didn't. But it's now I look back, I can laugh.
Yeah. What was it like to? What was it like to be? I've been in the sun, and I don't know what it's like there. The sun is really terrible for their stories and for their rumours and stuff. Don't worry, I know what the sun's like. Don't worry. But what was the sun? Because they were horrible to you. What the sun was, weren't they? They were really bad with the stories. What they were saying about you. What did you think about the sun?
I think at one point I don't know whether this is right, whether it was them or not, but I was the most hated kid in the UK.
Yeah,
And
that's it. Yeah, yeah,
that was one of the headlines at some point. But and I think it's I understand that I was an easy attack vector at that point because of who I was, and it's easy to make someone a villain in that sense who goes against the status quo. So I get why it's great publicity, and it's clickbait, and it works, and I understand the media in that sense. I think the reservation that I have about all of that is that it is, luckily for me, I had some good people around me, and I managed to develop some thick skin.
Yeah.
But for someone maybe not as sure in themselves, um, it was quite damaging. It could be very damaging, and I think we've seen
Mm.
that in the fact that we've seen some celebrities end their life. And funnily, it was, I think it was the anniversary of Caroline Flack, God bless
Yeah.
her,
Yeah. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
couple of days ago, and you know, I called her a friend of mine on the show because she was presenting.
Yeah.
We had some drinks together, and we, me, Ollie Mers, Caroline, and she was such a beautiful, beautiful woman, and I think it's testimony to the fact that words and defaming people in that sense publicly is very dangerous, and it's
Mm.
damaging, and it's I think we need to figure out a way. Journalism in that sense needs to be reformed. I
Mm.
don't think we can treat people like cattle fodder anymore. We need
Mm.
to create a world where people are human, and we relate with each other's humanness, and we have compassion with our humanness, and we're not just kind of gossip to be fed on, and to be sold,
Yeah.
but we're human beings.
Yeah. You're totally right. I was put in all the media, and it was really bad, and I nearly kind of like try to commit suicide over it. So it was bad for me. It was really bad. But I sorted
Yeah,
myself out. But you got to be thick skinned when you're kind of like, especially you when what you did, with the X Factor and everything, and you know, gosh, it was. I was watching you, and you were really good. You are really good. I'm
thanks.
not just saying that, but you are really good. I think I remember my wife was saying to me, he's really good. What he should have a chair. It's like, and we were guessing who's going to get the chair. And things like that. But what I don't understand is they should chuck these chairs out.
Yeah,
Why should I don't think they should have the chair thing in. Really.
I think it's right what you said before, in the sense that you're playing with people's lives,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and people's dreams and hopes, and people's emotional states are a lot more fragile
Mm.
than we treat them. And I think we act as people so hard on the exterior,
Mm.
but really we're extremely fragile and vulnerable in terms of
Yeah.
our emotions. We're in this world now where we're in constant stress response to everything
Yeah.
around us, and
Yeah.
we're in a high stress environment all the time, and we find it so hard to relax, that we are constantly on breaking point, essentially. And then when you have someone like that who has placed all their hopes and dreams on something like that, and then it's completely dashed. uh, and sometimes these people are extremely young. I think they get younger and younger now, who can enter these type of competitions, and kids, and
Yeah.
see, like, I think it's like The Voice Kids now, or something, I don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and
I was gonna ask you this question before we finish. But do you think will if you were offered to go back on the X Factor, your honest opinion, would you go back on there?
um, I don't think they allow people anyway, because if you've gone to the lives, you can't go back on the show. But
I know,
I
but if
mean,
you were
I
asked,
can't, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe to make a point, maybe to I don't think they'd ever contact me ever again for some, but
no, not what you did, no, no.
but Yeah, why
But
not?
I can imagine you going back to the show. The show's on, and all of a sudden you walk through the doors, singing, and and all
It
of a
would.
sudden you're getting booted out by some, big,
Well,
security
that's
people.
yeah, that's what happened the first time. But I mean,
Yeah,
there's about six of them actually. I think there's a
six
bit,
of them.
yeah, a bit over the top, over exaggerated. But
You should behave yourself.
no, what's the fun in that?
You got to
Really,
behave yourself.
I
You're in the
think I
limelight. You're in the limelight. People look at you and think, "Oh, I wish I could be like Mason Noise. I wish I could be like him."
and I think, but I
And
think
what
that's
did
because.
what did you do? You just
But
caused some bother.
I think there's a place inside of people that wish they could revolt in that sense. I think there's
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of people. I think there's a lot of people who are unhappy in their lives that wish they could speak up more,
yeah. Of
and
course.
they wish they could have the courage to speak up more. And I think we're funny enough we're in a country in a situation right now where it's needed to speak up.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think we've been a country where, because of the British Empire, we've been someone who's always ruled the roost, and we've had people revolt and against us. But
yeah, yeah,
we have kind of lost our revolutionary spirit in that sense.
yeah.
Since
I totally agree. I totally agree. We're UK citizens, right? I got chucked off Twitter. Okay, I always get banned from Twitter because when I go on Twitter, I kind of like I say what I think,
hmm
right? I said something about the COVID or something like that, right? And all of a sudden they chuck me off. I could put something on there like a poster. One particular time it was a poster about when Mrs. May was in when she was the Prime Minister, and they were having problems. So I made a poster with a broken cabinet, right? And it's like and she's got a cigarette in her mouth, and I put Mrs. May and a broken cabinet, and I got done by Twitter. I was in Twitter jail, and I expressed my. But why can't we just express our feelings?
I think that's a very deep rabbit hole when it comes to going talking about freedom of speech now, and the fact that that's been infringed upon by
Mm,
these large social media kind of platforms.
yeah,
That it's kind of if you don't go with the narrative, then you're in risk of being silenced or cancelled or whatever it is.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I think that slowly we're losing certain civil liberties in order to be able to speak freely.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think we should watch that very carefully because it's more serious than people may think about in their day to day life.
yeah. And the one question before you go, if someone wants to get into the music industry, what advice would you give them?
Don't.
You make me laugh. Don't.
Do it yourself. Do it yourself.
Do it
You don't
yourself.
need
There you go. There
you
you
don't
go.
need the music industry.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you very
I
much,
know
Steve.
you're busy. I know you're busy, and thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Nice to meet you. And
Grateful
thank
for
you
you
so
too,
much.
Steve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
I think sometimes in life, whatever we do, even if it's the X Factor or a program, or we go on the radio or whatever we do, yes, we've got to come to a point and be careful what we say. But with the freedom of speech, at the end of the day, we all got to have a freedom of speech, haven't we? So there you go. That's what I want to finish on. Well, thank you to Mason. That was a really good interview. One of the best interviews I've had for a while. Sorry, folks, but it was really good. So that was, he was known on the X Factor as Make Some Noise. So make some noise. Woo! So thank you very much. And yeah, that was really good. Thank you for everybody for joining me tonight. God bless. And that's what I always say is see you on the next adventure. Bye bye.